What's up, everyone, and welcome down to another episode of Zetro's Toxic Vault. And I guess lately it's going to be all about Death Angel in the vault because I do have another guest from Death Angel here. There's just so much to talk about with that band. And he actually plays in a band with me, AC/DC tribute band, and I am so happy to have him finally in the vault to talk about his metal history. Here I have Mr. Will Carroll.
What's up, everybody?
What's up? How are you?
I'm doing great.
You're doing great now.
Yeah.
You had a little bit of trouble, which we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the COVID thing for a lot of people, and I've seen some of your fucking vicious comments, and I'm the first one to agree with conspiracy theory. Unfortunately, this time, it's not mine because I have people that were close around me that got to that, and you were one of them, actually, and obviously Chuck and Tiffany, which I had Chuck in the show about a month ago, and we talked about that. So we're going to get into all that stuff. We're going to get into your experience at the Grammys, which has got to be, I mean, come on, that's the highlight of a career if you can really look at that type of a career. But like everybody else in the vault, when I get you in here, I want to do an episode about you, Will. And I basically want you to tell everybody who's watching the show who may or may not know where you grew up and how it started for you and how old were you? You know, because you're a San Francisco guy, right?
Yeah, I was born in San Francisco and then moved to Daly City when I was like 1 or something like that. And I have 2 older brothers and an older sister who are all into hard rock in the 70s growing up. So I was around music my whole life. So I heard Kiss Alive 2 when I was 5 years old, and that's what sold me on getting into rock music, you know, and wanting to be a musician.
So were any of your brothers or sisters players, but did any of them happen to play?
They were all in school bands. So like my sister played flute, and my oldest brother played trumpet, and another brother played trombone. And then when they got a little older, they started playing guitar and getting into rock music, like playing rock music.
Did they play in rock bands, like, you know, Screw Around or?
Yeah, my brothers, much later when they were in their 30s, they had a punk rock band called Moss that played around in the 90s. But I was the first one of the family to actually join a band or form a band, you know, and play clubs and stuff. Yeah.
Really? Wow. And how much is the age difference between you and your?
Pretty big.
Is it big? I mean, were you like, all of a sudden, oh, guess what? Mom and Dad's going to have another baby. And
exactly right.
Really? One of them, huh? What's the 8 years from the
10 years from my sister, 9 years from my brother, and then the next brother is 6 or 7 years.
Oh my, yeah, you were definitely that.
Not planned.
Guess what? Mom and Dad are having another baby. What was their take? Were they like, you know, because my dad was a biker. Were they hippies? Were they you know, or were they way conservative? And
they weren't conservative, but they definitely weren't hippies either. My dad's from Ireland, so I'm first generation here. He was a military guy. He was in the Air Force, but he was also he put out an Irish folk album. He was an Irish folk singer.
Really?
He put out a record like in the early 60s maybe. So he was musically inclined, and my mom loved music too. She had a piano in the living room and always would play. So they were very supportive of me being in a band, and especially choosing the drums. I mean, that's the loudest.
It's the noisiest, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's cool once you learn how to play it. But those first probably 6 months is like, oh.
Yeah, like Bobby Brady. And
exact, total Bobby Brady. God, everybody knows that. That's why I think kids from that generation didn't get drum sets. Bobby Brady fucked everybody on that one.
Totally.
I mean, totally got that. So, what was your first hard rock or experience with? Was it Kiss? Because I know you're a huge Kiss guy.
Yeah, that's the first thing I can remember, like, making a huge impression on me was Kiss Alive 2. And then right after that, it was Aerosmith Rocks. Like, that album's so classic. And I remember,
God, I'm telling you.
I love the cover, and I was just drawn to it immediately. Highway to Hell.
Then now we're talking about 79.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm 37. So, I got into it like in 77, 78. So I was around 5 or 6. So... What else? The Who, Kids Are All Right. Like my parent.
That's great.
Yeah, my brother loved The Who.
I love that movie, and I had the album just because I love every song.
Yeah.
Happy Jack, every song on that is great. Oh,
Yeah.
man, I love that.
A great movie.
Great movie too.
I mean,
it is a great movie.
Maybe my favorite rock and roll.
Keith Moon is amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, but so there was a time where I watched that movie like once a week, once a month. I love just for the music, just to hear the music because they played the music through the whole thing.
Totally. I remember on one Death Angel tour, someone had that movie, and we watched it, and like Rob had never seen it. I believe he'd never seen it, or it'd been a long time, so he couldn't remember much. But he was so inspired by that movie that the rest of the tour he was doing this on stage,
doing the Pete Townsend swing.
That's how powerful that movie is. Yeah,
very powerful. Especially when towards the end where they're kind of playing live a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate Who right there.
Yeah.
You know, they play Won't Get Fooled Again.
Totally. That's one of the last concerts.
Yeah, it's just so great. And to see that, because I mean, in me, I loved all the hard rock stuff, even though there wasn't really called heavy metal.
Right.
Because I'm 56, so I mean, I was 8 years old in 1973.
Right.
When it was still early, there wasn't even Rocks wasn't even out. I remember when Toys in the Attic and Rocks was released. You know what I mean? So great records at that time. So were you a cartoon guy and a horror guy and comic books
and horror movies? Definitely.
Yeah, so we kind of play in the same realm. I mean, my set is very reflects me.
I love it, man.
As this is what I was as a kid, you know what I mean? This is everything I was as a kid, you know what I mean? And more, plus being the musician thing now, you know, I mean, look at all this shit.
Dude, the Slayer Satan figure.
Yeah, the Baphomet,
Show No Mercy, yeah. That's
you got to show your love to them. But I mean, I think a lot of what I mean, my shirts on stage and the way I talk and my interests that people see through the show definitely reflect my childhood. You know, you did Creature Features. A lot of the viewers know about that because I speak about it all the time.
And I actually watched that fucking movie.
You gotta watch it. So you know that. But were you a Creature Feature guy growing up?
Oh, Bob Wilkins.
Bob. Exactly. So for me, it's like, you know, just actually being part of the show now, having my, you know, the theme song played every week.
Creature
Feature, and be able to be part of the show. And I'm friends with the cast, and we do a lot of things outside the show. And for me, it's like, wow, if you'd have told me when I was a kid that I someday I'll be singing the Creature Feature song and that I'd be, you know, a guest on and friends with the guys, that I had to pinch myself because it was such a big thing to me in my life. So horror was always big with you as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's why we click so well. What are your earliest memories of horror movies, Will?
Oh, wow. I think I the first ones I saw were like the Hammer films, like all the Christopher Lee ones, you know, like
I do know them well.
Yeah, those are my favorite Dracula movies. Christopher Lee is my favorite Dracula.
He's great. I actually had a lady who was actually appearing at a convention that I had come here to my house for a party after, Veronica Carlson.
Oh, you told me about this.
In those movies.
Yeah.
She's the very beautiful blonde that's in those movies. And so she's, you know, an elderly woman now. She's an amazing artist, and she lives in the Carolinas now. And she came out to California to do a horror convention. And I had a huge party at my house, and she came to my house, and I was like telling everybody going, Veronica Carlson is in my house. So you don't understand how major this is. Veronica Carlson is at my house.
Is she British or is she?
Yeah, she's British.
She's
British. She lives in the States. She's British.
Wow.
Yeah. She was the blonde, the beautiful blonde.
I remember.
Back from the 50s. Yeah. So and those sort of things are special to me. So with that, you know, with horror and metal, did you feel that was like the way you looked at things too? It's like everything was cool with toys and horror and metal. It was all these fun. It was so comic books.
Absolutely.
Nothing. Mad Magazine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's fun. Action figures and shit, you know? And,
I mean, album artwork for heavy metal is half the ball game right there.
Well, I mean, I bought Killers because somebody told me Iron Maiden is a great band, but I bought it because that is probably the best album cover ever.
Yeah, it is
That is
awesome.
the best
Totally.
album cover ever. I actually had it tattooed on my arm for years, and then it got so old I redid a new Eddie over it. But I had that's a different Eddie.
That's the Eddie from Final Frontier.
One of them where he's kind of digging out, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's kinda
yeah.
digging out like there. But I had to replace the Eddie with the Eddie to show respect and homage to Iron Maiden, obviously. But I mean, because I was a horror guy, the album covers were very horror-ish.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
The good ones were. Yeah.
And when the record was that good, it was that even better. I mean, come on. When I first saw If You Want Blood, You Got It, I stared at it because Angus has got a fucking guitar coming through his blood.
It scared me when I was a kid.
I'm telling you. And that was like, even when I saw first pictures when I was younger, my dad listened to Black Sabbath. And to me, I always said, they had funny names. Who was Ozzy Osbourne and Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi? I mean, that's his real name, but it sounded like he put it on because Tony Iommi.
Totally.
Tony Iommi. And I was always like, wow. And then I'd see a picture of them, and they were always with this look. I'm like, those guys are probably evil. And you know what I mean? And who's to know? It's all, you know, they're all sweethearts. We toured Black Sabbath in '92. They're great. And Tony and Geezer were the greatest.
Saw that show.
Greatest guys ever.
At the Henry J. Kaiser.
That's right, with
Skew Siskin.
Siskin and
There was a fourth band? I thought
no,
it was only three
no,
bands.
it was three bands.
Yeah.
We played I keep thinking Urban Dance Squad when we played with the Chili Peppers.
I remember that tour too.
At the
Warfield.
No, that was at
the Civic Center.
Henry J. Kaiser.
Henry J.
It was at Henry J. Kaiser. Yep.
That was a bizarre bill.
So I look at that. And I mean, are you the same way when it comes to that? I mean, you know, like horror and metal and anything that's cool and cartoony. And
I haven't grown up at all.
See, I'm the same way. I don't think I ever will. It's like I came home the other day and I looked in my case, you see, with all my toys in my house, all my stuff, and I look at Vicky, my girlfriend. I go, hey, I ain't got no new toys lately. She's all, and looks at me and goes, I have one on order. It just hasn't come in, knowing that I fucking need toys.
Totally.
Buy me action figures.
Totally.
Buy me cool, evil shit. I don't care. I'm into that. I will take it out of the package, play with it, stand it, put the little thing in it, and I'll set it up somewhere. It'll either be out here on the vault or it'll be in my house, you know, where I live, because I just live for that stuff.
Is that a Shogun Warrior over there?
Yeah.
An old school one?
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
wow,
Look
man.
at that. Good eye.
That's badass.
Yeah. Isn't that badass?
I had that one when I was a kid.
I had a guy.
Feel how heavy it is.
I know,
dude.
it's a real toy. Will Hebner from Toy Slayer is actually the guy who totally has totally helped me decorate my set, and so he gave me all these cool toys and stuff, and so
Hey, Bill.
yeah, and watch this, Mr. Anki.
Yeah.
I have all the cool toys on Zetro's set because I'm still, and again, there's that P.O. box that I'm going to point my finger to right now so that my producer Wayne puts the P.O. box in it. You could send me stuff and then I could put it on the vault and then I get free toys. And
Brilliant.
You get to we've had that up already. A couple of guys, the Planet of the Apes stall right behind you, which is old school. A guy sent me that into my P.O. box. And so send me stuff. I will put it on there. Now
I'm the same way though. Like I was in Target yesterday shopping for cat food or whatever, and I left with a toy. I got the brand new Star Wars Probot, the Black Series. The Black Probot. Oh, it's awesome.
See?
Yeah.
I know. I see, and that's the way I am with. I know Jack Gibson and Cragen, they're the same way with that Star Wars shit.
Yeah.
He's got a room where it's just piled up high. He hasn't even gotten to the stuff yet.
Jack just recently built the fucking Star Destroyer, the Lego Star Destroyer.
Oh, he did, huh?
It's like, it's huge. Yeah, I mean, it's like 2 billion pieces. I mean, it took him a month to finish or something.
Oh,
but
my God.
Yeah, he's dedicated.
So there's some of you Star Wars guys. And again, I'm dedicated to, I'm the same way. If I go to a toy convention, it's like, what am I got $100 burning, just going, what am I going to get? 200, whatever. It's in my pocket. I love, just whatever's cool. It's just, and I'll sit, and I love the packaging.
Yeah.
The way that it looks, the box, and everything about
So
it.
you open all your toys, or
I do most of them because I want to display them.
I do too. I want to display them, but it breaks my heart once I crack that seal.
But what good is the toy if
I
you're not going to
know,
play
I
with
know.
it?
I mean, I like to look at them, but
No, I
I
have two.
know.
I have two. Everybody knows I love Dark Shadows. I have a Barnabas and an Angelique still in the packages that I haven't pulled out. Other than that, I get ordered stuff. My bobbleheads, any of this stuff, I open it and display it.
What do you think of the newer Dark Shadows? Wasn't there a remake? Or
They did one in '90.
Yeah,
They did
yeah,
one. It was
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It was done good. Ben Cross played Barnabas.
Right.
It was done. Dan Curtis was still the producer, same guy. So
Right.
it made that much sense. But it was good. I liked it. Now, talk about how old you were when you got in your first band or you started playing drums. When did that come down?
I started playing drums when I was 10. At school, they have a music department, and it was like 5th grade or 4th grade. And my parents encouraged that, like, we want you to play an instrument. So I went into music class, and I wanted to play guitar. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be
I was started as guitar too.
yeah, man, I wanted to be a guy up front. Just ripping
Jimmy Page, me
leads.
too.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to be.
And they didn't teach guitar at my school. And so the only instrument that was related to Kiss that was in the room was drums. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll play drums. I mean, I wasn't too thrilled about it. Like, for the first year.
So Peter Criss wasn't your favorite member of Kiss?
No, by no means, no.
That's funny.
So I reluctantly played drums for like a year in school. And then it seemed like I had a knack for it. And I was the head drummer in our little section. So my parents bought me a drum set from a garage sale down the street. And that's how I started. Like around 10, 11 is when I started playing an actual kit. And then I met Ted Aguilar in high school in the hallways of Westmore High School.
So no bands before that?
No, actually, I was in a band slightly
We got to
before
talk
that.
about all of those.
Yeah.
You don't get to slip away with going right straight to Ted. You get to talk about the time where you played the 8th grade talent show.
Exactly, it was 8th grade.
With Doofy McPherson, and Doofy's now a lawyer somewhere, you know what I mean? And, talk about that. Tell everybody.
So
Talk about the first gig.
the first gig was with a band called Armament, which is kind of a cool name, but a lot of people in Daly City couldn't pronounce it correctly and were calling us Army Men. So
We're going to see Army Men tonight.
So it didn't really work out, But the first time we played together was a house party, like you said, in someone's garage.
God, I'd love to do that now.
It was raging. The cops showed up. It's not a house party.
If cops don't show
Yeah.
and people are jumping over the fence, God, it's not. It's not.
So that was my first party, and Ted was at that party, I think, and saw us play. And I didn't know him back then. And then a few months later, Ted got transferred to my high school, and I saw him walking down the hallway with a Merciful Fate shirt on, and we were both late to class, so we were running in opposite directions. But I stopped him and went, whoa, dude, because there was no one in my school listening to Merciful Fate besides me,
Right.
pretty much. And so to see another like-minded metalhead run by, I stopped and was like, dude, that's a badass shirt. And then we kept running. But that was our first meeting. But he ended up joining Armament shortly after that. Like,
Really?
Yeah.
But isn't that kind of like, I want to talk about that a little bit. Isn't that kind of how it is with us as the fraternity of metalheads? If you're in the grocery store and somebody walks by you, and I mean, you don't necessarily do it with no disrespect to a Metallica shirt anymore. And there's no disrespect there. I love them. It's just because it's so widespread. But if somebody walks in with a DA shirt, or you see them with an Exodus shirt, a Testament shirt on, or a metal shirt,
Totally.
Watain,
Totally.
you know what I mean? Black Dahlia Murder, anything you see from our genre,
Urban Dance Squad.
Urban Dance Squad, you high five that person. You walk by, you don't talk to anybody else in the fucking grocery store, but that person you go. Right.
Totally. There's always an acknowledgement. For sure.
Always from that. And if you say, of course, if they have a Slayer shirt on, you do the normal Slayer. You know what I mean? That's just what you do. But I think that that's how you find out who each other are, especially back in that time. Because I went to high school. I went to Dublin High. here in Dublin, and everybody knew I was the metal guy. Everybody knew
Right.
Sousa's the metal guy. What new people would come to me and go like, Sousa, what new bands have you heard of? Have you ever heard of a band called Saxon? They'll be like, no. And I'm talking, this is 80, 81 in school, and I'm
Yeah,
a sophomore,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, no, is that a most Saxon English man? What album? Strong Arm of the Law, good one to start out with. You know what I mean? And people will be that they came. Sousa's the metal guy. Sousa's the metal guy. Was that way with you? Were you and Ted? Were you guys the metal?
Totally. Most of the other rockers or stoners at my school all listen to like Pink Floyd and stuff like that. And like when I'd cut class with them and go to the park and get stoned or whatever, they'd be playing Pink Floyd the whole time, and I'm like, oh my god, like, hey, like I have this Coroner tape. You want to check out Coroner? No, man, we want to hear the Floyd. That's why I fucking hate Pink Floyd.
Do you really?
Yeah, I
I
can't
love
stand
Pink Floyd, but it's not a go-to. I won't get in my car one day and go, I think I want to hear deep, but I love the album Animals.
Animals is pretty heavy.
Fucking
Yeah.
amazing record.
Pretty cool.
But I like Pink Floyd, but I mean, again, I was, I'm like you. I will put the Merciful Fate demo in. You
Yeah,
know what I
right.
mean? Put something else heavy in. So, what was Armament like?
Terrible.
Terrible. So you never ventured out. There was no demo from Armament.
We made a demo in our garage that didn't make it past 25 copies. So it was on like a TDK tape. It was totally DIY and DUI.
I bet it was.
But yeah, we made that tape, and we played a few shows at the Omni and the Stone and stuff, but it didn't last long. And that turned into Warfare DC.
Okay, so but that had some legs to it. Warfare
sure,
DC
for sure.
And was that with Ted as well, right?
Yeah, and his brother Rob.
And what year was that, Will?
That was like from 89 to 92.
And
93.
you're about 16 right then?
Yeah, 16, 17, 18. Yeah.
Warfare DC, because I remember seeing the shirts.
Yep.
And wasn't it sideways? And it was like
One-
Warfare DC?
One of them was, yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing those.
And Sean Killian recorded our first real demo, so yeah, we had some stuff to be proud of, I guess.
That's awesome. We're going to take a break here real quick, and we're going to get back and we're going to talk about Warfare DC. And we are back with Will Carroll, and we were talking Warfare DC. Talking about that you said was like your first, you felt real band where, you had some legs in it. And I
Right.
said, I remember seeing the shirt with the Warfare DC sideways on.
Yeah,
It caught
yeah.
my eye.
Yeah, we played a lot of gigs, so I guess we had a name out there. But yeah, the first demo was really good. It was Sean Killian recorded it, and he went beyond just recording us. He was very cool to us. We got into a car accident on the way to the studio, so we were kind of stranded in Antioch or wherever we recorded. So he let us stay at his house, and we didn't even know him. We never even met him before. A friend of ours, our manager at the time, knew Sean and got us to meet him in the studio, and he recorded us. But anyways, he let us stay at his house. He made spaghetti dinner for us. And
Wow.
he really took care of us.
That's
so
great.
that
Sean's
was
a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've had him in well, you know him now.
Yeah.
We've had him in the vault, in the last year, and he told us the story of everything. And
Right.
Sean's, I'm really happy for Violence right now and what's going on with them.
Yeah.
That
That was a fun night when you and I were a part of the
Oh yeah,
Killing on Command.
That was so much fun.
Totally.
We talked about that definitely. So, what was next after Warfare DC, Will, and how long did you guys keep that going?
Warfare DC lasted from like 89 to like 90, late 92, maybe 93. And then we played hella good shows, opening for, never opened for Exodus, but we opened for like, Violence and Forbidden and just all the bands, all the Bay Area
Right.
thrash bands. So, and we opened for Death, Pestilence, Carcass. That was a crazy death metal show. The first time Carcass played the U.S., and that was a milestone concert for death metal. It was weird they had a thrash band opening, but, whatever. I'm not going to say no to that gig. Anyways, after Warfare, Ted and I kept jamming together and formed a death metal-ish type of band called Brood. And we put out 2 really awesome demos, I thought, but the scene was so dead. That was like 93, 94, 95.
just died.
So there was nowhere
we
to play.
disbanded at that time.
Exactly.
I went into, my children were young. I got out of music. I didn't even play again till I did something with Perry called F-Bomb in like 99 or 2000.
I vaguely
We
remember
barely,
that. Yeah.
maybe played 6 or 7 shows.
Yeah.
And it was just something to do. But from like 80 or 93 to 99 or 2000, I was coaching baseball and soccer and there was nothing going on. I mean, there was a time when, my children are now in the business and they play in Hatriot, but there was a time where I used to look at their mother and I would say, I'm not married to their mother anymore, but when we were together, I would say stuff. I'd go, Christine, do you think the kids are ever going to know the magnitude of the band that I played in at the time? Because it just seems like we all got fucking wiped off the face of the earth.
Totally.
And then Ted and I have talked about this, and a lot of people have. We felt that the Chuck Billy, Thrash of the Titans concert, that was really what kind of spurred everybody to kind of look at themselves and say, people really do like this type of music. I think we could do this again.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was the night that got the ball rolling for sure, man.
What were you doing at that time, Will? What bands were you in?
Well, so yeah, we brewed. We were around for a couple years, and then after that, I formed a band called Old Grandad.
You still do the Old Grandad?
I
right?
still do it. Yeah. We put out an album last year, and that actually was pretty successful too. We were big fish in a big pond. We never played outside of California ever, which is stupid because we were around for like 13 years the first time, And then we broke up for a while and then we're back together. But in San Francisco or the Bay Area, we were pretty popular. And we were nominated for the BAMMys a couple years in a row and won a SF Weekly Award, I think. Just
Really?
Shit like that. And, we played a lot of cool gigs opening for Merciful Fate at the Maritime Hall.
Really?
Yeah, that was wild, dude. That was wild. Anyway, so we've put out 5 albums now. And but that's what I was doing throughout the 90s and the early 2000s was Old Grandad. And somehow we survived through all that shitty time. I don't know how we did, but we did. Yeah.
Yeah, because we reformed. Well, actually, the band was going to go with Bailoff, and then Paul passed away, and then I came in, and within a year's time is when we started recording Tempo of the Damned.
I remember those times.
So I wasn't necessarily supposed to be me out of the gate, but it was lean times even then. I mean, there was, everybody was like, "Oh, wow, is this music genre really getting back together, or is everybody really doing this?"
Right.
Because there was a show, we talk about it all the time. And now, after all we had done in the 80s and in the 90s and all that shit, Headbangers Ball Tour, we got back together, and it was, I think the album had been released, and we were in Iowa. And I think we had maybe 28 paid
Sounds like Iowa.
or 30 paid to the show. And it was like, wow, I guess they're not believing us yet that we're back. You know what I mean? Right. I don't know if that was what it was or the genre had not caught itself up to come back again. But I remember, and to this day, I call them clunkers. And there was a few clunkers on that tour, and that was a clunker.
Yeah.
Big time clunker. I remember and there's people at the bar, like it was a bar, and people are drinking there like, what do you mean I got to get out and buy a ticket to come back? Who is this band? Like, they didn't want to leave, They're like, no, let them play. We'll just sit here and drink. So we're playing, right? And I don't even think they kicked them out to buy tickets because it was like that. And there's like these older guys, and they're sitting, and I'm standing on stage with like maybe a couple people over there, 3 people here, a couple people over there, and I'm looking at these guys, and they're just at the bar. They give a fuck less with what's going on stage. Have a conversation, talking. I'm like, wow. Yeah, so, it was a little lean through there, So,
definitely.
So for Old Grandad, I'm sure the same way. I mean,
there's
some nights you do well, and I remember we had then a week later, it was like a Friday night, and I think we had sold 350 tickets for a gig in Chicago, and we were like, it's packed out there tonight.
Yeah, right.
And 300 because we went from, trickling in to, on a Friday night in Chicago, there's 350 people there to see Exodus. Boy, it's packed tonight out there.
Do you remember the record release party for Tempo of the Damned?
Yes.
At the
DNA Lounge.
And Hail Satan played after you
Yes,
guys.
they did. They played after us.
That
Right,
was fun.
exactly.
That was fun.
We played the album in its entirety.
I remember.
Only time we've ever done that.
I remember.
And I've watched that show, and God, we were awful.
Oh,
Awful.
what, really? I
Yeah,
don't remember that.
oh God, every time I watch that, I'm like, we weren't back yet. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of that to go through that.
Sure.
So now, talk about your relationship with Ted, and is that what got you to join Death Angel? I mean, everybody knows you from the scene. We all knew you from the scene. I knew who you were. You know what I mean? People knew who you were. Because, again, you played in Warfare DC. You played, and you were at every show.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, you know, we knew. Everybody from the scene, you know who each other are. And I mean, regardless if you hung out or you ever, you know that guy over there.
Totally.
Will Carroll, I don't really know him, but he's right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So is that kind of how that led? Talk about leading into getting into Death Angel. And did you know Andy, you know? And
No, I don't really know Andy that well. I mean, we've met before, and since I've been in Death Angel, we've played some benefits together, so we definitely know each other, but I didn't really know him back then, you know, didn't really hang out with him. So Mark was the one actually who suggested me to the band. Ted was leading up to Andy quitting the band, like months leading up to it. Ted was telling me, like, you know, things might not be working out with Andy. I don't know. So I kind of had it in the back of my mind. So I was refreshing myself with the Death Angel catalog just in case.
it's always a good thing. It's always a good thing to do.
Yeah, so that's what I did. And but I think Mark was the one who said, hey, once Andy was saying he was leaving, Mark said, hey, try Will out. Let's get him in here. So
what year was that? It's been 10 years now, right? Or
it's
over
11
10
years. It was 2009.
2009.
Yeah, and I think Ted was the one who contacted me and said, hey, you want to jam with us? And I was like, fuck yeah. And within maybe a week or so, I was jamming with him.
What was that? Do you remember the first song you played with them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Mistress of Pain.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
And were you ready?
But Ted probably knows better than me. But I think it was Mistress. Oh, yeah, I was ready.
How many songs did you audition? Or were you ready to play like a lot of the catalog?
Oh, we did almost what seemed like a full set of songs.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was already a fan, you know, so...
And who was playing bass at this time?
Sammy Diostatos.
Sammy Diostatos. So it wasn't Gus then anymore, or
Dennis.
Dennis.
It wasn't
right.
Dennis.
Wasn't Dennis.
And it wasn't Damien yet, yeah.
Right, not Damien yet.
And Sammy was in the band before I was, so he was in the version with Andy still drumming. And then he lasted like maybe a year after maybe like half a year after I joined. He did one tour of Europe with me in the band with that type of lineup, and then after that we got Damien like shortly after that.
It was 2010.
Yeah.
So this lineup has now been together for 3 records or 4 records now?
4 studio albums.
Because this last one is just, I mean, you can tell now.
Yeah, right on.
And you guys live are a machine. So, did they tell you right away you were in?
You know,
or how did they do it? How did it come down?
You know, and I've seen a lot of musicians say this, but they actually never told me I was in the band. I still don't know.
I guess you're still in the band.
Yeah.
I at least got you're in. After I did the 2 nights of rehearsals in '86 at SIR Studios in Frisco with Exodus, and nobody knew. After the second night, they said, "Okay, you're in. What are you going to tell Legacy?" Then that kind of thing went down.
Okay.
At least I got the "you're in." You know what I mean?
No, even on that first year tour of Europe, I did. Towards the end of the tour, like it was still like I was temporarily in the band. Kind of. That's what was the belief. All right, that's what I believed. At least at the very beginning of the tour, it was like, you know, you're just filling in. I'm like, okay. But by the end of the tour, I remember saying to Sammy, boy, I hope I get this gig. And he's like, what? And I was like, I hope I get this gig. And he's like, you're a fucking idiot. You're already in the band. You don't know? And I was like, no one's told me
Nobody
shit.
said you're the man. You, sir, are the man.
So I'm still waiting for the...
Still waiting for that nod. Amazing. Because it's been it's been a really good 10 years. I mean, building 10 years. I mean, I'll say this: that band is your band is in a much better place now than it was in 2010, and by a big, and it's has to do with the consistent lineup and the musicianship of each one of you guys, man. Every one of you kill it.
Definitely.
Every one of you kill it.
Keeping the same 5 members definitely helps with any band, like you start gelling and that's the biggest reason why I think each album's getting better, or at least keeping the standard up high,
And now I want to get into this. Talk about Humanicide. When you were going to record the record and you were hearing the songs, because usually the drummer and the guitar players are the first ones at it.
That's how it is, yeah.
Same thing with Exodus. It's Gary and Tom. And did you feel the songs were as worthy as the accolades that it has received? I mean, you've been nominated for a Grammy for that record. We're going to get into that. When you were writing it, did you feel that way? Because I think everything we do is great. You know what I mean? And oh my God, this is the best thing since sliced fucking bread. That people are gonna die, and then you go, it comes out, it's cool. You know what I mean? But then it comes out, and everybody, and when you wake up one morning and you're in Calgary, Canada, and somebody goes, "Hey, you're nominated for a fucking Grammy." How does that feel? And it's just like, what did you just say? Who told you? Who told you? I know you guys were in Calgary, and everybody knows I'm a Flames fan, so what a great place to get that in. Were you woken up?
I was woken up by Mark telling Rob in bunk alley, because we got it in the really early morning, or maybe
you did. We all knew early on.
Yeah. And so everyone was still asleep, and Mark got the text from someone, and he got out and was waking up Rob, and that woke me up, or maybe I was already awake, but I was listening, and I was like, oh shit. So I looked at my phone, and I had a bunch of messages on my phone. So I think everyone was in their bunk going, yeah,
How great. What a great feeling that was. And for some of us, I mean, because again, the Bay Area family is very, very close-knit. And so if one of us gets nominated, I feel like I was so happy for you. And then I've told you this story. I'm reading the paper, and it goes, Bay Area nominees for Grammy Award, and they had a few on there, and there was somebody from Vallejo. I think she's a hip-hop artist or something.
Yeah.
And she received a lot. I don't even know her name offhand. She received a ton. And I'm reading down, and I don't see any Death Angel there.
Yeah, that was lame.
And so I emailed Jim Harrington, who's a great concert reviewer, and he's actually a really good guy. And I emailed him saying, in heavy metal, everybody's always trying to kick us down. If it's not Metallica, nobody's going to pay attention. But you did an article on Bay Area bands that were nominated for Grammys. I go, Death Angel was nominated for a Grammy, and you didn't mention them. Come on, Jim. You're more of a professional than I wrote, do your fucking homework. And so then he actually was right. He wrote back to me, and he goes, the next time one of these thrash bands are nominated, tell their record labels or their management to put out a press release. And I was like, good comeback. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll give you that one. But he then agreed with me that I was right. And on the actual, if you were to go to the news group online to read the paper, because obviously it was in print, it was too late.
Right.
He changed it.
Okay.
And put it in there. And then he kept emailing me. And then we were going back and forth because I emailed him like, I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm Steve Zetro, I sing for Exodus. And that's how I started it. And his retort was, I totally know who you are. I've covered some of your shows before. You know what I mean? And I just kind of wanted to give him a little bit like, hey, fuck you.
I appreciate
one
that.
Of our guys.
We appreciate that.
One of our soldiers out there just took one on the chin. Let everybody know they fucking just took one on the chin. Goddamn, This is a good, it's a not Metallica thrash band from the Bay Area that's nominated for a Grammy, right. Jim. Yeah. And so that's kind of, but he got back to me and he was really friendly about it and very cool and like, totally humble. But he got me back by saying, next time, tell their management or their record label to put out a press release. And I was like, yes, that is how things are done. You're right, Jim. This is very metal. So talk about, and we had Ted in here, and he spoke about the Grammy Awards from his view. Talk about it. Talk about the Grammy Awards. Talk about going. Talk about the experience. He told me some things I didn't know. I didn't know it was 2 separate ceremonies.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know you weren't in line. You weren't on the red carpet with Beyonce and Jay-Z. I thought they come later. I guess they walk the carpet as that ceremony's going on. Am I correct?
Totally.
Thank you.
Totally.
Grammys.
It was in our ceremony was in a smaller venue across the street, and it was early in the day too. I mean, and it's a long day if you're going to all the events. Even just the actual event itself is long. But so it was like a freaking 11-hour day or something, man. Like so, there wasn't that many people at our event. It was like half full, you know. Gwen Stefani was sitting behind us though. For
they were nominated for something, right?
Yeah,
Her
yeah.
and Blake were nominated.
Yeah,
for something,
yeah.
So they were there.
But
not too many other A-listers, huh?
Not really. Not at that event. And not to be Mr. Rock and Roll and all that stuff, but I slept through most of it.
Hot. That's the best story ever. That's why you come to the vault, because you only get shit like that. Like, so wait a minute. During the ceremony, you're up in your seat or table, and
I'm snoring. Yeah, yeah.
I love it. If you've ever seen Will Carroll, and most of you haven't, but I have. Will Carroll can snore. That's amazing.
The night before,
great.
The night before, my fiance Lishan and I went to the Whiskey to go see Bang Tango, and Jeff Bruce was working the show, and we got like sectioned off seats, really good view, and free drinks all night. So I was wasted that night, and so
of course you were.
I was horribly hungover. She was as well, but she was a trooper. Like she was waking me up, like, "Hey, your category is in like 5 minutes, I think." Like she's like totally waking me up. I'm like, oh. So I slept through almost all of it. Like even at the main event, I was sleeping most.
So
of
you
it.
did go to the main event.
I did. Oh hell yeah, yeah.
And and you're in the upper seats now, or
we're a little bit on the upper. Yeah. Not bad seats, but we were not down on the floor. Definitely.
Now Ted said something interesting when he was here. He said unless he was nominated again, he'd never go, even if he was invited.
You know, I saw Ted say that on your show, and I haven't really thought about it, but I don't think I would either. I mean, if we were nominated, definitely.
Right.
Nah.
So you know, right.
Nothing against it. I mean,
no, right. It's just a long day. It really doesn't fit you.
Yeah. I see no reason to go again unless we were nominated. You know.
Did you attend the cast party after, and were you able to go to the party, or
yeah, we were.
Or did you have to go to the across the street party? Where, no, you guys were in the ceremony before, so that's your party over there.
We went to the across the street party where they were hosting Toxic Vault.
We'll be there next year.
But,
exactly.
But no, we went to the actual post party, and dude, Gloria Gaynor's voice was so fucking loud. Plus, I had a throbbing headache from my.
Oh, they have people that perform.
Oh my god, it was loud.
I forgot about that.
It was loud, and I remember and it was a huge room too. I didn't even see my bandmates. I saw Rob at one point, but everyone was scattered, and it was such a huge ballroom. But I remember at one point, I was with Lishan just going, "Oh my god, this woman's voice is killing me," and I got a text from Mark going, "Man, this chick's blowing my fucking head off. I'm out of here." It was like, and then Cheap Trick played after, and I love Cheap Trick. I love him.
I love Cheap Trick too.
And it was maybe the worst time I'd seen him.
Really?
I've seen him like maybe 30 times.
Why?
Because their sound was kind of jacked, and their first song they had to cut their first song midway through because there was so much technical difficulty. So they came on stage anticlimactic, it was just kind of like, and that just set the mood for the rest of the show. It seemed like Rick Nielsen wasn't giving it any effort whatsoever, and he wasn't like. He wasn't
being Rick like his boy.
He wasn't doing this stuff. Yeah.
Those faces, that's Rick Nielsen.
None of that
That's what I want from Cheap Trick.
None of that. Like he'd be singing backup vocals and start coughing and stop and clear his throat and then go back to singing. I have some of it on video, so that was the after party.
Are there celebrities that you saw there?
No. there's tons of people, but I didn't see any celebrities.
So where were they at? What parties were they at?
Exactly. I think the most famous person I saw at the whole thing, besides Gwen Stefani behind us, was Iggy Pop walked right by us, like walked up the aisle.
Did you talk to anyone that day? Was there an artist or a star that you wanted to talk to and you had access to? No. Wow. Was like Ice-T there? Was he there? Because he lives in L.A. and he might,
he may have been, but
he's
an
an A-list celebrity. He gets invited to that stuff.
I didn't see him.
Plays in Body Count, so he's a brother with us.
Yeah.
We look at it. That's what we look at it, So,
but I mean, it was a cool event. For me, the funnest thing was the party they threw in San Francisco at the chapel, and it was a party for all Bay Area nominees. So like that hip hop artist was there.
She was there, huh?
And like this children's ensemble.
Yeah, I saw that them and some
the Alphabet
Latin,
Rockers
and some Latin.
Exactly,
you were in there.
It was very spread out musically, which was cool because we were with people we're not normally hanging out with, and it was like a gathering of the tribes type of thing, and it was really, really cool. And there was like a electronic artist who was nominated. It was like all different kinds of music, yeah. And obviously we were the only rock or metal band, so we stood out and got a lot of attention and free drinks, so it was fun.
That's cool. Right on. We're going to take a break again. We're here with Will Carroll. When we come back, we are going to talk the Bay Strikes Back tour, and somebody got very sick on COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a myth when we come back.